Welcome back to the Catch Some Soulshine podcast. I am Renee Bova, and each week I intend to bring you a heartfelt message of my journey of transformation. I'm a person who has suffered significant losses, including my son, my adopted son, my grandchild, and my dad. What I want to share with you is snippets of my life and other people's lives that have awakened brilliance after life's darkest moments. But before we get started, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe to the channel, share it with your family and friends. Give me a rating. That helps this reach more people. And I know that if I can overcome the life tragedies that I've experienced and live an abundant, joyful, fulfilled life, you can too. So grab a cup of coffee because it's time to catch some soulshine. Today is really special for me, very special, because I am talking with one of Brad's friends from recovery when he was in Florida 7 years ago. I really didn't know you back then, but I know that you were really special in Brad's life, and you guys both shared a love of sports. And this is Michael Fabian. He has Fabian, what is it?
Fabian Digital Media.
Fabian Digital Media. Was it the Indians you guys were rooting for at that time? Were they in the playoffs, or was it the Browns?
That's the first thing I thought of, and it was the Indians. It was the 2016. It was that glorious year of Ohio sports where you had the Cavs going to the finals. Ohio State was competing for a college football playoff, which obviously didn't turn out well. And then the Indians ended up going to the World Series. So we were watching, I think it was the Yankees and the Indians series, and it was when the hurricane was going on down in Florida.
Yes, I remember that. And Brad sent me this little picture of a tree that was like bent like this, and he goes, "Well, so much for the hurricane damage."
The weather people definitely put an exclamation point on every single one of their reportings about our area, and we were just concerned about the Indians and if they were going to advance to the next round or what was going to happen. So we had our priorities straight.
Because we're on a public forum here, I never really got to give you a great thank you for, the part that you played in Brad's life, because I know that things didn't turn out the way we wanted them to or had expected them to. He was special. He had a purpose here. Now he's serving a different purpose, because I don't believe that we really die. We are transformed into something different. I still feel his presence around. I can still sometimes hear that laugh that he had, that great big belly laugh. You were one of those people that was really special in his life. So I really want to thank you for that.
I appreciate you guys more. I mean, honestly, and I have to tell you this, and it's because, like, for him and those moments that you brought up right there, and for everything that I do, obviously, like my biggest mantra and my biggest saying is chase your dreams. And those little moments right there where I'm heavily involved with sports. Those moments where you get to interact with somebody that is from the same area as you, has the same interest as far as sports goes. Those little moments right there is what propelled me into the position that I am today, to want to be involved in sports. Those interactions and those moments made my fanhood greater. So it made my love and desire to chase my dreams and become what it is today. But thank you. Thank you. And thank Bradley mainly.
I really want to dive into that, because here you are, a kid from Ohio, like Brad, in recovery, in rehab, starting fresh. You're in a whole different area. It's a challenge. It's a huge challenge. And there's so many people that don't make it out through that darkness that you had. And I know his death, as well as many people that you've lost. I mean, the young generation today has suffered its equivalent to a war zone, right? Losing so many friends and people that are really dear to us to addiction. But you pushed through. You just chased after your dreams. You said yes when So many people said, no, you can't do that. Really want you to talk about that because that gives hope to people.
It was so just like any other times when you find hope, honestly, it truthfully, and this is, the first time I'm really actually going public, like on how it led to all this, but with hope, it comes usually in darkness. I decided to pursue my dreams and chase the sports and get into the sports industry. We had a rough start to my youngest daughter's life,
Yeah.
and we were about 2.5 weeks in the NICU, and there was just a lot of uncertainties, a lot of questions that were going on. And for me personally, I was in a down spot because for somebody that had such what I would say back in that time bad luck, which was, I don't believe in luck anymore. What I would assume was bad luck. I felt like I transferred that onto my daughter. So in despair, I was like, how am I going to pull myself out of this? And what am I going to do to financially be able to suit my family? And that's when I looked up Dan Patrick School of Broadcasting at Full Sail University. And that's truthfully where it started. I looked into the program, and once I looked into the program, I said, I think this is designed for me. I'm going to give it a shot. Now, mind you, I'm 25 years old, something along those lines. I'm fresh out of rehab. I have no money. I just love sports. That's it. That is honestly the only thing that I had going for me, was that I love sports. I never once was on camera talking about sports, doing anything along those lines. And you know how, especially with you being in the recovery community, I know that you understand this mainly, and being in recovery, when you take the energy that you took from what you were doing back in the day, whether it be going to get drugs, whether it be going to get money to go get alcohol or anything along those lines, you did everything that you could to get that. So when you take that out of the equation and you supply something what is healthy, which was school, which was grinding and following sports and keeping up and becoming more knowledgeable, that took the place. And that, I would have to say, you know, pulled me into what I'm doing today. So
Gave
I
you
lost the train of
purpose.
thought there. Yeah, I did. I
Gave you
lost the train of thought
purpose.
because when you start thinking, you just start thinking about all the moments and all these different things and these interactions, and it makes you emotional.
And I know it hasn't been an easy journey for you, right? You were working a couple of jobs, going
Oh
to
yeah, there was.
school.
I was blessed to be able to work with alongside one of my very close friends for a long period of time when I really started getting into the football, like Fox and CBS and ESPN. I managed a restaurant with him. There was multiple times where I would catch myself on a Saturday night. I'm closing down the restaurant, say it'd be midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. Well, I have to be at the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami at 5 o'clock in the morning. So what do? I just go get in the car. I have all my change of clothes. I have my toothbrush. I get to a rest stop, and I would have to sleep in a rest stop. Mind you, my family's at home, comfy, sleeping in bed. Some of the sacrifices that you have to make in order to get to where you want to go. I knew that being a father with obviously having two kids, and most of the people in my industry being 18 to 24 years old, not really having those responsibilities at hand, I knew that I had to go above and beyond and do things and say yes to things that were going to make me uncomfortable, which being in recovery allowed me to understand that sometimes that's completely necessary in order to find growth and to get to a destination point.
I'm developing a program. There's like 3 major pillars to this program. And the first one is all about mindset, believing that you can, seeing the future, knowing that it's yours, getting rid of that scarcity. I don't have the money for this. I can't do it, right?
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of people can get that, some people can't. Then you move on to the second pillar, which is action, because you can have the best mindset in the world, but if you're
Mhm.
not willing to do the action, it's not going to happen. And then the third pillar to my little program is service. I truly believe that selling is serving, right? If
Yes.
If we want to give something to somebody, that's fine, but selling is serving too. We live in a society where we buy things that are important to us. Service has such a broad meaning that I think people get caught up in it like, well, I don't have time to volunteer. Everybody has time to give something back. Everybody. And I think if people can get those three pillars, unstoppable.
I'll tell you what, one of the best things that and it's kind of like when you were touching upon the pillars, the service part. Now, you being in recovery and having sponsees and whatnot, you've experienced the greatness of watching somebody succeed in life. One of the greatest blessings that I would have to say from recovery that I got that transpired into my role into real world, into to life. When I work with these high school athletes, and I watch these high school athletes go from little sophomores and little juniors. Now, mind you, I don't take money. I rather give back to my community. One of my biggest things that I live, my philosophy that I live by is that you will never be loved nationally if you aren't respected locally. And the only way to be respected locally is by giving back to your community. I work with high school athletes. I do it all for free, trying to get them exposure for college and whatnot. Watching that, just like in the same thing of when you watch somebody go through the 12 steps, watching somebody go and get that scholarship and earn that second level of a football, but mainly earning an education, being the first ones in their families to get an education, watching that service transpire and watching how it works. And even, it's like you said, action, service, watching it all transpire. Next thing you know, you got a kid that has a scholarship that shouldn't, that never thought that was going to happen in a million years, doing things that his family never dreamed of. It's a beautiful thing.
When we talk about abundance, an abundant life, a lot of times people equate that with money. There's a lot of mindset around money that we have to get through. Abundance is not money. Is money bad? No, it is not. But that's not what abundance is. Abundance is being full and what you just described.
Oh, it's
And
awesome.
I think you have to live that, you have to be it before the money comes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The one thing that I've noticed, I've had this conversation I think about 10 times in the past 24 hours, is that I have no idea what I am doing. Like, honest to God, there's things that are falling into my plate, that are falling into my lap. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm not marketing towards it. I'm not searching for it. But when you continue to just keep doing those right things, and it's just like, how we've always been taught, you do the next right thing, good things happen. Karma, manifestation, all that stuff is so real. I've found that the more that I give back, the more that I get back. And the things that have happened, it's just something that I posted the other day. We went from Fabian Digital Media. We went from the high school football clips. Well, now we have a collegiate football player that wants to get exposure at the University of Miami. So it goes from, now we're diving deep and helping out collegiate athletes for the NFL. You just keep doing the right thing, and everything falls into
Well,
place.
and you can't fake that. That has to
No, you
be
can't.
authentic. It has to be authentic. If people are going out there and faking it and trying to attract these things and they're not authentic, people know it's
And you
not
don't
going to
get
work
it. You
and
don't
you're
get
not going
it.
to get it. Yeah.
Because I've been that person. And it wasn't until I authentically felt something and pursued passions that I actually cared about into my heart, took it onto myself, and truly did it without um anything in return, whether it be
Mhm.
money, whether it be a brand recognition, anything
Mhm.
along those lines. It's just when I'm simply going out there and I'm helping somebody, like the other day, and I'm not tooting my own horn, but a couple months ago, we're sitting there and I'll pay for somebody to go do a 7-on-7 football tournament just because I want them to get the opportunity to get the exposure and whatnot. Do I want anything in return? No. What is the kid going to give me? I work for Fox, ESPN, and CBS. They can't get me with any of the networks. I already work for them. So the only thing is, So,
Yeah.
and that's the beauty of it. I get to have conversations with them. They're always like, like all the parents when they first meet me, they're skeptical. What does this guy want? Nothing. I don't want nothing from you. I have it all. It's beautiful.
You have a piece of it. More's to come. I know it.
Oh, I can't wait.
More
I
is
hope.
coming.
I can't wait
Do
to
you
come
wanna
back
share?
home and do it in Ohio.
I know. Do you wanna share some of the exciting things that have happened for you?
So yeah, so we'll just go back to kind of what back in 2018. I started off at Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting. Great school. If anybody's looking to get into sports in the sports media industry, I highly recommend it. 10 out of 10. And they funnel you directly into the sports industry, and that's what happened with me. Took an internship with Fox. Lo and behold, some way, somehow, my first year, I got partnered up with Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. Mind you, I'm scared. I'm in the booth and I'm freaking out. I'm with the two biggest names in sports. Ultimately, I did a good enough job for those two guys that either them or whoever was with them, they recommended me to Fox for the following year. So that internship turned into employment. Now I'm in my 8th season coming up with the NFL. From there, I got hired on with CBS. I work with CBS now, ESPN. I've done UFC fights. I've done college football bowl games. I've for my own company, I've had the blessing and grateful or the blessing to work NFL football players, kids' birthday parties, shooting that. I never once imagined this in a million years. I remember the one sitting in there once again with Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. Joe Buck asked for my picture. These are just little things that could have happened. Now, mind you, I know what your podcast is about. None of this happens if I decided to not come down here and get my life together.
Right.
It's so thin. That's the beauty of all of this is how thin it really, really is. It's all little. When I think back to everything that's happened over the past 6-7 years of being down in Florida, I can't help but just sit there and think of every single decision, every single thing that has happened that has led to this moment right here. It's so thin, just like how thin the programs are, the 12 steps, how they started. One little move, and next thing you know, we don't have these foundations and the 12 steps of recovery. It's the same thing with my life. One little yes or no, and next thing you know, like I don't know what's going on now.
One of the things that, I really believe wholeheartedly is that we all have these dark patches in our lives. Everyone, you can't be human. You can't have the human experience without experiencing darkness. So many people don't want to feel those feelings because they are so intensely painful. But you have to go through them. You have to experience them, all of them. Because once you do, the little things like you're talking about are just huge and they get bigger and bigger and bigger. Unless we have the darkness to compare it to, the light doesn't seem as bright.
Oh no, it makes sense so much to a degree that I try and preach it to my oldest daughter, because it took me a while to tell myself this, and obviously we're kind of straight off from the career aspect, which I love. I love talking about life. Whenever there was a series a year where about 4 or 5 bad things happen, and I had to learn to tell myself each time that pain happened that okay, I got through this. That means that this next time that I go through this, it's not going to be this. Or next time I go through something similar to this, it's not going to be as painful. I got every single time. It's like almost building up endurance in a sense. Each
Yeah,
painful event that happened, it allowed me to take home a lesson because every single thing through pain, you take home a lesson. But
right.
number two, it allowed me to build tolerance and not allow these things, these somewhat small little things compared to the greater or the greater problems, not have as much of an effect on me, not create that anxiety, not create that nervousness, that anger, and the little frustration. It allowed me to tackle on the greater problems with a good perspective. That's another big thing. I've been able to find the silver lining in all of my pain nowadays. I've been able to
Mhm.
find the positive concept of what's been going through and the pain, the pain
Yeah.
that you've expressed.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of life.
Yeah. It took me a while. I can definitely see so many blessings that have happened from my pain. It makes me who I am. And the other thing about it is because we have these experiences and we've learned how to go through them and we've had that endurance and we can see the brightness, I think we can help others on their journey as a hand guiding them through and pulling them out to the light.
Well, that's, as well as anybody else. It's you're never alone. You're
Yeah.
never gonna you're not most of the time we feel that we're unique. We and this is every single individual, I feel, in a sense that we're unique and that our problems are our own and that nobody else has ever gone through them and different things along those lines. When most of the time everybody has somewhat dealt with the same problems. That might have been the most important thing we said in this whole podcast, because that's been the story of my life for the past 3 years. In 2020, it was rough. It was very rough. Bunch of different things, personal life, lost my best friend. You literally had to tell yourself to love the pain. I remember sitting in my room, love the pain, because it allowed lessons and it allowed me to build calluses and tolerance.
Mhm.
So that if there's one thing that we got that this podcast does for anybody, I hope that they are now, when they go through these situations and they see and they go through problems and tough times, that they learn to love the pain.
Wow. That's a great phrase. Yeah.
I tell my I had to tell myself, it beat it into my head, love the pain.
So what can we expect to see from you coming up? Any
So next,
hints?
yeah. So it's gonna get wild. So gratefully, next week I will be at the University of Miami, getting pictures and video for that collegiate player this Saturday. But I got to give a shout out, one of my favorite players in the area, Tarvis Alford, TJ Alford, getting recruited by Ohio State, Miami, Florida State.
Really?
Oh yeah, all these big schools. He's committing on Saturday. That'll be on his Instagram live. I'll be in control of that, and I also will be doing his commitment video, and then also I'll be doing a disservice, but we have a 7-on-7 team down here in Florida, and that's basically another football team in the off season. I work with a great organization called Treasure Coast Elite. They're like me. They give back to the community nonstop. We're taking about 30 kids to about 13 different colleges to go check them out, visit for camps, and then also potentially going there to school. So busy summer coming up. I'll be in Ohio. Got to go see the family. I'm
Well,
all over the
you
map.
can come and see me sometime too.
I will. I will. We have to go to a Browns game one of these days. We're going to be in the Super Bowl
I
one of these
know.
days.
You can get me
So
a good seat with all your,
I'll try.
connections.
I'll try. I'll try.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast, and remember, folks, learn to love the pain, right? Is that what you
Absolutely.
said?
Absolutely. That's love the pain. Love the
Love the
pain.
pain. Everything will be brighter, and follow those dreams. Take action, and the sky is the limit. Michael is a prime example of that. Thanks so much. I loved having you, and I can't wait to see all the things that are coming to you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you. And just like every other time I talk to you, you make my day brighter every single time. So
Aw,
thank
thank you. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey of transformation and growth. I wanted to thank you personally and invite you to download a free journal that I've created featuring some of my art. And if you'd like a free print from my Rooted in Faith collection, please go to dawnreneebove.com, and I will drop links in the comments. Hit that bell if you're on YouTube, and subscribe to the channel on Apple or Spotify. Leave me a rating because that really does help expand the reach. Keep catching that soul shine. I'll see you next week.